Boris incident and it's being fully investigated. But he stressed he doesn't believe it's led to any increase in the spread of the virus. Sky's economics editor Ed Conway has been examining the data.
How is it that thousands, potentially tens of thousands of people were unnecessarily exposed to COVID-19? It is a staggering story. And at the heart of it is this, a computer error message. That might seem improbable, but believe me, this is all true. And it turns out that, if we look back at the architecture of the testing system, we can see what's gone wrong. So these boxes here, you don't really need to know about what's in them, but all you need to know is that these green boxes are millions of people being tested for COVID across the country. The information goes through to the blue boxes. That's the contact tracers, so ensuring that any of those outbreaks are clamped down on. And in the middle of it is Public Health England. So it's kind of like the gateway for all of this data. I'll just do a slightly more simplified version of that. So Public Health England in the middle, test results go through into test and trace. And that's been working relatively well so far, and partly because they've got an existing database to deal with this stuff. So you've got those kind of NHS labs around the country, most of the ones in hospitals, they automatically pump all of these results through to Public Health England, and that automatically goes through to test and trace. That's how it works. But here's the thing, a lot of tests are not done by these NHS hospital labs. They're done these days by something called Pillar 2. Now, these are the new labs, those centralised ones run by Serco, Deloitte and so on, Lighthouse Labs. And they don't have a direct route through to this database. So here's where the problem comes in. They've had to jerry-rig the system. Instead, they're kind of uploading CSVs, a type of spreadsheet, through to a computer in Public Health England running Excel, which then pumps them out down that highway. But I should say at this stage, you really should never do that. You should never use Excel as a database management tool. We're about to understand why. Because in Public Health England, it turns out the version of Excel they were running is old. It's an old version of Excel, and it has this limit on how much data you can actually put into it, a 65,000 row limit. Sounds like a lot, but actually think about it. The cases have been getting more and more over the course of the last few weeks, and it turns out that it broke through that limit. They got the computer error message, and as a result, thousands of cases weren't pushed through to test and trace until they discovered about this just on Friday. And it does somewhat change our picture of this disease in the country. This is what we thought was happening to cases over the course of the last few months. And now we've had this big influx of new data. And a lot of that, it should be said, is a backlog from previous days. But it looks like a scary chart, though. But it's worth asking, does it mean that that Sir Patrick Vallance illustration we heard about a couple of weeks ago is...
Let's just take you across to Washington.